What's up guys, Chris here with another Eden Zero manga chapter review. And let's just go on and say, I believe I'm finally getting back on track with making these manga chapter reviews on the week that they are released. Again, my personal schedules and work schedules will probably conflict at some point, but for now, I am free the day of the chapters releasing, so I can read them, let the thoughts sit, and then record my reviews on them. But yeah, we're here to talk about Eden Zero chapter 159, and it was another good one, I have to say. The last one left off with the biggest cliffhanger ever, making all of us just want to hate Shura even more than we already did. Yeah, man. We are really testing Shiki's mental health at this point. His mental fortitude with everything that he's been going through in this one single arc. And yeah, wow, this is just, man. But anyway, before I get started with this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I'm close to 800 at the moment, but my aim is to get 1,000 before the year ends. And if subscriber counts keep going the way they are, maybe before the new year, I'll be able to reach 1,000 subscribers, and maybe I can do the YouTube partnership program. But that's all in the future. Can't really tell when things are going to happen. But please like and subscribe. Help with the algorithm and really show how much you guys enjoy my videos. I also got a Patreon and a Ko-fi account. Patreon has a good number of benefits through a patron-only Discord server, where there are places where you can discuss anime and manga, even movies and TV shows in general. There's also private polls and channels with the higher that you reach in the tier list, you will in fact manage to help influence what videos I could eventually talk about or cover on the channel. And Ko-fi is essentially if you want to like help out little by little, bit by bit. If you don't want to commit to the monthly thing of Patreon, you can just put however much you want on Ko-fi. Helps me out in the end. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. And with that little introduction out of the way, let's get into this video. Now, last week we essentially got the fight between the princess of the Oasis Resistance versus Laguna, and the backstory of how she ended up becoming Shura's basically like how should I put it, love interest. And that's kind of like putting a lot of sugar on something otherwise very hard to talk about. But she has basically got a type of Stockholm syndrome, which she feels infatuated with Shura despite all the humiliating and honestly kind of twisted things that he has done to her over the years after he captured her while she was trying to save some of her friends. And now she's finding Laguna, and this chapter actually touches upon how in fact she truly feels and how her feelings might not be completely genuine. But the main talking point of last chapter, as I stated, was the ending page, with Shura standing over a seemingly dead witch, fluid spilling out and her side completely ripped apart. Seeing how damaged she is, and even seeing that she was crying to show just how much pain that she endured through this torture session. And Shiki's face, you just know he was going to kill this guy. But yeah, moving on to chapter 159, The Strings of Unbreakable Bonds. And, as we figured, we started off with last chapter, with Witch on the ground, seemingly dead, Shura smirking, and everyone shocked at the sight that they're seeing, and Shiki's just shocked and completely angry. He just wants to take down Shura. And he charges straight at Shura, wasting no time, and Shura ends up blocking him with his own gravity ether gear, causing a big push of gravity, pushing everyone else away. And as everyone is thrown to the ground from this force, Pino completes a scan and picks up that Witch is still alive. There's still life readings coming from Witch's body, which is honestly something that's really great, thank God. Because, let's face it, we should expect actual character deaths in this story. And this was actually stated, I believe, either on Twitter or the Eden Zero Reddit. But someone theorized that perhaps Herman might be the last remaining shining star in this series by the end point, and that Witch and Sister will probably end up dying somewhere down the road. And if Mashima wants to go down the route of killing off main characters, then those two seem like the most prominent to kill off. Witch in particular, since she is the oldest member of the Shining Stars that has been with the Eden Zero crew since they founded the Eden Zero, thanks to Elsie and everything. So Witch being the first to die makes a lot of sense, and if it's in this arc, that just makes this big tone shift. And yeah, that's actually very, very interesting. But anyway, after hearing that Witch is alive, Rebecca sprints towards her, picks her up, telling her to hang in there, and you can just see that she's just apologizing. She's supposed to be the shield of Eden's, and she let this happen. But yeah, everyone's just saying that it's going to be okay, that they're going to take her back to the ship. Witch is so badly damaged she can't even move. And Witch is trying to tell them to first destroy All Link. It's right here inside the facility that they're in. And Rebecca says okay, and they're going to go meet up with Laguna since he was right behind them. And when Rebecca calls out to Shiki, despite hearing that Witch is alive, still very understandably angry. He is absolutely livid, saying that he's going to crush this guy, basically scaring the shit out of Rebecca at this point. Because remember back in Beliogore, there was a brief time leap where Rebecca, after spending too much time in the Bath of Edens, somehow accidentally time leaps to a potential future where Shiki is very cold about one of his friends being dead in that future. So it's very possible that this could also be one of the timelines, one of the possible scenarios that lead Shiki to being a much colder person, as he is not in the best mental state possible. The guy has gone through a lot ever since he founded the Shining Stars. Everything was all happy-go-lucky until Beliogore, because even I have to say, and this was pointed out by another YouTuber who actually did a Eden Zero video, Just Stop. He stated that every time Shiki has used his overdrive, he was not in the best place mentally, and I have to agree. The first time was remembering the tragedy of our initial timeline where Shiki dies by the hands of Draken Joe. The second time was on Foresta after seeing a bunch of tragedy where all the bots were killing off the humans, and then Nero's advanced hunting forces basically exterminating all the bots, and now and also finding out what's going on with Ziggy back on the Edens back when Ziggy was revived. So now with Shiki's mental state basically in just utter disarray at this point, I can see him activating his overdrive, and maybe, just maybe, if he doesn't get his emotions under control, he might actually fall to darkness like Zenolith foreshadowed, because the power of gravity can drag people down. So it makes a lot of sense. We could see a corrupted overdrive for Shiki. Now that's something I would love to see, because every protagonist has to have some sort of berserker mode or evil moment or something like that. It happens all the time and we all love it. But anyway, coming back to the chapter, Shura just states that the one who's going to be crushed is you, Shiki. And we cut back to Laguna's fight with the princess, stepping on top of Laguna's head, stating how much that she loves Shura and that makes her stronger. And one of the reasons because he'll take a life without any hesitation, because he doesn't know any love, which makes him even stronger. As she then begins to wrap her red thread of destiny around Laguna's head, she then pulls it, seemingly decapitating him. But then in the next page we see that it is actually water. And turns out Laguna, actually, if we pay attention, he must have forced himself to cry, as he turned himself into water at the very last second. And he even states that he is technically an actor, even if no one heard of him. So a little bit of self burn there. But then he straight up elbows the princess right in the jaw, stating that just whooping up tears out of nowhere is acting 101. So this actually makes Laguna's ether gear even more formidable, as if he's in a situation like this one where he's about to be freaking decapitated, all he has to do is force himself to cry, even if he doesn't feel like crying, turn himself into water, then reassemble himself right on the spot to land a surprise attack in that same instance. So this adds an extra layer of combat potential to this ether gear, and I'm really, really liking all of the different ways that you can use ether gear now. Especially with Laguna, since he can turn people, and now even confirmed himself, into water. Which basically makes him a Logia user from One Piece. I love One Piece. But Eden Zero, you're doing really good. You're doing really, really good. Anyway, she recovers and tries to use a string needle, but Laguna continues to evade. As he still tries to reach out to her, and even states that he doesn't even remember her using an ether gear back in Oasis. And apparently she learned this while here in the Empire, which again makes sense because all the members of the Oceans basically have had ether gears that messed around with other people's ether. And looking back, since she can basically tie people up, cause them to basically have intense feelings of love and lust towards each other, and then once the string is broken, it'll be turned into just straight up anger and animosity. It makes a lot of sense that it messes with their ether and mental state. And she just calls it the Red Destiny. Her ether gear is confirmed to be called Red Destiny. And since she has basically this whole belief of the red string of fate, red string of destiny, blah blah blah, it's the perfect fit for her. And even Laguna is starting to understand everything about her and states that she is not a bad actor herself. And this does help state with the whole Stockholm Syndrome type deal. Because even though it could be like a mental state where someone begins to develop feelings for their captors, it could also just be like a defense mechanism to make sense of their situation and basically be forced situational acting or method acting, where you get into the role so much you basically start to lose yourself. So that's basically what it appears that Laguna is implying. She got abducted by the Empire, and whether she meant to or not, she tied a string to Shura. So that red string basically forced her to tie herself to Shura so that she wouldn't die and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's what I'm getting from it. Basically, she basically started to act. She's basically pretending, and got so engrossed in the role that she herself even started to believe it. And hell, even now, Laguna states that she's just bound by her own power. And hell, he even just straight up says that her feelings for Shura is just something that Shura himself allowed, with how infatuated she is. And we even see how much she's fighting back against what Laguna is saying, and that he doesn't know what she had to go through. But he just states that her heart is crying, and there's already a bunch of red strings, and that were already tied to her. And since they never really tied her to the love story she dreamed about, but it's tied her to all the friends that she made in Oasis, to all the rebels that she helped lead and guide, and even risked her life for. Everyone was tied together. And I'm liking a little bond of friendship type deal, the classic Mashima. But now now she lunges towards Shura again, and I have to say that this is going to be a nice standoff, I have to say. And as Laguna states that it's time for Current to call, he literally manages to wash away her strings, washing away her ether gear attack. And as she's wondering what's going on, Laguna just straight up says that it's because her heart is weakening, and that when the heart is troubled, the flow of ether gets weak. So that also helps tie into ether gear being part of someone's emotional state as well. And the weaker your emotions are, the more they waver, they could get weaker or stronger depending on the emotion. So I'm liking adding more layers to ether gear. So yeah, that's actually an interesting thing, and I think this fight actually really helps with building more layers onto this power system. And Laguna charged up a pretty awesome attack, Tear Wave, washing away the princess and basically winning the fight. And with that, she has a single tear. Laguna turns her to water, and we get a nice little visual of the string in the water snapping as Laguna turns her back to normal, catching her in his arms, as he just says to her to go back home, to go back to Oasis. And when she comes to, we then get to see Muscoy just giving a thumbs up to them, and her just wondering what the heck that thing is. And then we cut back to, well, the first area still apparently, with Homura and Creed, as she's just nervously walking away from him. As if we remember the last time they interacted, he basically straight up confessed that he liked her. So that's actually kind of hilarious. And he's still following her primarily because they're going the same route anyway. And he stops her, stating that right now they have to stop. She has to stop and listen to him. And he does kind of freak her out a little bit due to how nervous she is at the moment. And just states the obvious: they're working for the same goal, and that they should help each other out. Homura doesn't really trust him. Hell, she doesn't even know his name. Creed starts to say that his name is Creed, but he then actually states his real actual name. I hope I pronounce it right. Seiji Hojo. And he came from the planet Edo, just like Homura. So, and Homura also drops another bombshell that he is from the Shogunate family. So he is basically nobility on Homura's planet. So, yeah, one has to wonder how the son of basically the noble family, the ruling noble family on her home world, basically joined the Interstellar Army. You'd have to wonder he would take over from his father or something, but that's a nice little piece of information, and we might get a little bit of a Creed backstory here, which, if it's pretty short, I won't really mind. I don't mind diving into characters, even if they're like side characters that we've only seen like literally, I think, twice. 2-3 times, yeah, 2-3 times we've seen this guy. And yeah, I'm honestly very curious to see what's going to happen. And I do see Homura meeting up with Rebecca and Laguna on her way to the All-Link system, as, well, All-Link is basically the direction they're going to anyway and coming from. So while Shiki is taking care of Shura, Homura and Rebecca are going to meet up, along with Laguna, and they'll most likely go off to destroy the All-Link system. Now, how this arc will end is really anybody's guess. I can't really tell you how this will end, because I feel like we're due pretty soon, by the time we reach chapter 160, 165, within the next like 5 to 6 chapters, I'm predicting. It might be 10 chapters for all we know, that we'll get the fight with Shura and Shiki, as that's really the only fight left over on Planet 66 at the moment. And we might jump straight back to Nero Planet 1 and get the 3-way battle royale between Nero, Ziggy, and Jaguar. And that's the one thing I'm most hyped for. Well, yes, I'm most hyped for Shura getting his ass beat by Shiki, with Shiki going all out, because he really has to at this point to take down Shura, and now he knows not to trust whatever Shura says. We have a battle between seemingly 3 powerful legends in this world, and I just can't wait to see. Plus, we'll most likely get to see Ziggy in action for real, having him actually fight. And I'm curious to see how Nero himself will fight, since his Ether Gear seems to be using dice. Now, I'm curious to see how that's going to play into him actually fighting. But for all we know, he's probably like super strong on his own, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, this week's chapter was pretty good. I'm glad that Witch is still alive and not dead. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see if this is a real death flag, or if this is just a fake out to kill off someone else. Because this is also kind of Laguna's arc. So if he ends up dying here, I'll be sad. But it would also make sense that this is his home right now. This is his cosmos, where he's come from. And his whole mission in life was to save it. So if he dies while still ensuring that the Aoi Cosmos is saved, then that is narratively sound. Or Mashima can go the route where okay, Shiki defeats Shura, but Ziggy manages to beat both Jaguar and Nero, and then Ziggy manages to take over the Aoi Cosmos regardless of the All-Link system, and forces the Interstellar Union Army to retreat. That's actually an interesting point to go on. And Elsie is still AWOL. We need to know what Elsie is doing right now. I'm curious to see where Elsie is and what she's going to do and where she's going to show up. My money is still on the battle against Ziggy and Nero. Hell, it would be pretty awesome if she teamed up with Jaguar. Her taking on Ziggy while Jaguar takes on Nero, or the other way around. And I think Jaguar seems like a pretty reasonable guy compared to Justice. So if he sees a chance to actually take down two powerful enemies, he's probably going to take it and then worry about Elsie later, since Ziggy and Nero were the more immediate threats. But what do you guys think? Leave the comments down below on how this arc's going to play out, how Shiki and Shiro's going to play out, the future of the arc, whatever your thoughts and opinions may be. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get updated on future videos. And let's hope that path to 1K is very short, so I can pump out more videos, and hopefully I can afford to pump out more videos. And for those of you wondering, yes, Eden Zero Explained is still in the works. I'm getting a couple of things set up in advance. I do, in fact, wanted to go back and change a few things. You know, make it a bit more structured, and also add in some things from the recent arc for these future explained videos on future characters. But yeah, with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.